Numbers are starting to irritate me. Let's elaborate on that. Okay, obviously I'm not seething about the fact that 1 + 1 = 2. I've just been kind of frustrated recently about statistics more than anything. Now let me preface this by saying that I actually like statistics. Like me personally, I will see a graph and sit there and stare at it for hours like a little mosquito rubbing my hands together. In fact, one of my favorite things to do to kill time is to just like open up the Maps app on my phone and then just start like looking at public transport infrastructure like in random cities in the world. Like Porto here. And you know, one of the most interesting things about Porto is that a lot of its public transport infrastructure was actually built in the last 20 years. But despite my affinity for networks and data, I just feel like there are some things that it shouldn't dictate, and yet for some reason it does. But let's be honest with ourselves, a lot of fields nowadays are completely determined by statistics, which I know is like pretty rinsed as a talking point, but bear with me. Algorithms by definition are just a set of instructions that are determined by a goal. And you know, because these are predetermined instructions, then obviously you're going to have different weights towards different kinds of content for different kinds of people. Like, I'm not saying anything new here. And I mean, the people who are making these things obviously also have a goal, which is to make a living. So they're going to cater their content, not necessarily towards a target audience, but I would argue more a target audience's algorithm. But whether or not an audience is positively reacting to something is kind of irrelevant, because what matters to the algorithm is that that engagement is happening in the first place. My take is that this has its consequences, especially when we're being served a large portion of content that is optimized for an algorithm, you know, like movies, music, TV, especially that kind of stuff, because it's been optimized for a streaming service. I don't think this negates any kind of creativity, but I do think it limits the more out of the box ideas, because the statistics are saying that it's not worth the gamble. And this leads to people with vaguely similar algorithms getting served very similar content, which completely disregards the nuances of what makes each viewer different. And I honestly think that this is affecting what people create today. A weird example of this that I can think of is tutorial content. Tutorial content is definitely useful, but I would say that by far the biggest consumers of tutorial content are beginners who don't want to put the time or money into something like a course. And because of that, I think it's much easier to find beginner content than it is to find, for example, like an advanced tutorial for a really niche problem. Take a music course at university versus trying to teach yourself through YouTube. The way that I understand it is that one-on-one teaching through something like university will teach you how to instinctively make music that is true to you. There's a helicopter up, there's a helicopter flying. But because tutorial content is often teaching you how to replicate popular music in a format that they know will do fairly well, I would argue that you can pretty quickly gain the ability to make something that's going to be popular, and thus the cycle repeats and you end up making more stuff that's tailored towards an algorithm rather than something that is true to yourself. I mean, this is oversimplified, and there are obviously some great tutorials and courses and fantastic self-taught musicians out there, but you get my point. It just feels like nowadays there's so many songs that are being made specifically because they're going to do well on social media, and movies that are made because they're going to do well on streaming services, and clothes that are made to fit shorter trend cycles, and even art in some way feels like it's being optimized. Algorithms are in pretty much every single crevice of our lives, but having said that, I feel like they're demonized more than they should be. I say after demonizing them for 5 minutes straight. The point of an algorithm in this context is to feed you something good. And as humans, we're very crafty and we're very greedy. So naturally we're going to find loopholes so we don't have to put in as much effort, and we don't have to take that gamble as to whether something new is going to be successful or not. I mean, look at what I'm doing, for God's sake. I'm literally making meta content about content algorithms. Like, I'm not also optimizing. I think we've come to a point where we're optimizing almost everything, to the point where most things are somewhat determined by statistics. And these statistics can't possibly capture every single nuance of your personality or your interests, but see you more as a data point. And because of that, kind of push you to be less of an individual. I don't know how to fix it. I'll be honest. I just think it'd be kind of cool if we had the option to use like a simple algorithm that just serves like mostly random content that's just like vaguely related to your interests. But I still don't know if that's gonna work or not. I guess just like push yourself to be creative and do something even if you think it's not going to get pushed by an algorithm. Or don't, I mean. Anyway, thank you for listening to me yap. Statistics merch coming soon. Okay, bye.